Greetings. I am pleased to introduce you to our team Mahadevi Verma. My name is Ujjwal Kishorya and I am this team's negotiator. This is Vimal Nayak, our team's videographer. This is Shashank Gond, our team's editor. This is Vagisha, our team's coordinator. This is Uday, our team's scriptwriter. And this is Yash Singh, our team's scriptwriter. And today we are going to talk about the BCG matrix.
Greetings. Today we are going to explore one of the most widely used strategic tools in the world of business management, the BCG matrix, or as some people know it, the Boston Consulting Group matrix. Whether you are a student, a building entrepreneur, or a seasoned professional, understanding this matrix can help you look at business strategy with fresh eyes. It's a powerful visual tool that helps company analyze their product lines and business units so they can make smart, informed decisions about where to invest, where to maintain, and where to scale back. Let's start at the beginning. The BCG matrix was developed in 1968 by Bruce Henderson, the founder of the Boston Consulting Group. Henderson created this tool to help companies figure out how to allocate their limited resources efficiently across their portfolio of businesses or products. He recognized that not all products are equal. Some are rising stars, others are reliable workhorses, and some are simply not worthy investment. The BCG matrix allows businesses to map out these categories clearly and visually. The matrix is built on two simple but powerful dimensions: market growth rate and relative market share. Why these two? Market growth rate indicates the potential for future expansion, while relative market share shows how well a company is doing compared to its competitors in that market. When you place these two factors on a graph, you end up with our distinct categories: stars, cash, cows, question marks, and dogs. Each quadrant represents a unique situation. Stars are high growth, high share businesses that have high potential but demand substantial investment to maintain their momentum. Cash cows are market leaders in mature markets that generate steady, reliable profits with lower investment needs. Question marks are those puzzling products in high growth markets but with low market share. They have potential, but it's uncertain whether they will succeed. Finally, dogs are products with low growth and low market share. They usually drain resources and may be candidate for divestment. Why is this matrix so valuable? Well, businesses operate in highly competitive environments where resources like time, money, and talent are always limited. You simply can't invest in every opportunity equally. The BCG matrix helps managers prioritize, ensuring they place their bets where they are most likely to win. It provides a big picture view of the company's portfolio, enabling better long term planning and investment decisions. One of the most important lessons the BCG matrix teaches us is the need for balance. Relying solely on cash cows might seem profitable today. But if you don't invest in future stars, your growth will eventually stall. Likewise, focusing only on high risk question marks without stable cash flow from mature products can drain resources and lead to failure. The matrix encourages a healthy mix, allowing company to use profits from cash cows to fund stars and even nurture promising question marks. It's not just large corporations that can benefit from this tool. Startup and small businesses can apply the BCG matrix to make smart choices too. For example, a startup with several product lines can use the matrix to decide where to double down on investment and where to cut their losses. A great real world example is Apple Incorporation. Think about their product portfolio. The iPhone, especially during its earlier years, was a star, dominating a rapidly growing market. Today it behaves more like a cash cow, bringing in reliable revenue year after year. Meanwhile, Apple is investing heavily in services like Apple Music and Apple TV Plus, which could be seen as question marks, with the potential to become future stars. Older products like the iPod, once revolutionary, are now considered dogs and have been phased out. Throughout our presentation, we'll guide you quadrant by quadrant, breaking down each category in detail. You'll hear about real-world examples, common strategies, and how businesses leverage these matrix to sharpen their competitive edge. We'll explain how companies manage each category, the risks involved, and the smart tactics they use to maximize returns. By the end of the session, you will have a clear understanding of how the BCG matrix can be used not just as an academic concept, but as a real world decision making tool. You will be able to apply it to businesses of all sizes across industries and even to your own projects or entrepreneurial ventures. So without further delay, let's move to the first exciting quadrant. I'll hand it over to our next speaker who will dive into the fascinating world of stars, the products and services that blaze brightly in high growth markets and demand attention.
The BCG matrix or growth share matrix categorizes products based on market growth, market share, dividing them into four quadrants: stars, cash, cows, question marks, and dogs. So, helping them to make strategic decision. Market growth, rate at which overall market for a product or service is growing. A high market growth rate indicates dynamic and potential lucrative market, while a low rate suggests mature or declining market. To calculate growth rate for BCG matrix, we need to determine the percentage increase in total market sales and compare them your company's market share to the of its largest. For example, if the total market sale was $10 million first year and then $11 million this year, so marketing growth rate is 10%. Another competitor relative market share, which is defined as a company's market share compared to its largest competition in the same market. A high relative market share indicates a strong competitive possible, while a low share suggests a weaker position. It can be calculated by dividing your company's market share by market share of largest competitor. For example, if your company has 30% market share and largest competitor has 50%, your relative market share would be 0.6 and indicates relative market share of 1.0 or high indicates a strong position than largest competitor, while value of below 1.0 suggests a weak. So among the four quadrants of the BCG matrix, stars have high market growth and high relative market share. It is required as good as investment to maintain or increase market share and capitalization on the high growth potential. Cash cow have low market growth rate, high relative market share. Now, question mark have high market growth rate, low relative market share, and requires careful evaluation. Either invest heavily or become a star or divest to avoid further losses. Dogs have low market growth rate, low relative market share. They are unlikely to generate significant returns. We can use BCG metrics to evaluate products and service by first defining the market and product. We have to clearly define market or industry as this is crucial for accurate analysis. Now, we have to plot each product on BCG metric and its four quadrant, hence, and evaluate our business. Example, Samsung established television. So let's give it cash cows, foldable phones, stars, the virtual reality headsets are question mark. Older phones models are dogs. Hence, BCG metrics helped them to grow their business successfully.
Thank you so much. Now that we have a good understanding of the BCG matrix framework, let's dive into our first quadrant, the stars. These are the shining lights of any business portfolio. Stars represent products or business units that operate in high growth markets and hold a high market share. In simple terms, these are the success stories that are performing really well and have a strong potential for future profits providing they are managed correctly. Stars are positioned in the top left quadrant of BCG matrix. They are in rapidly expanding markets and they are already leaders in their category. Because of this, they capture a lot of attention, and rightly so. These are the products that are likely to become future cash cows if the company can maintain their position as the market stabilizes over time. However, there is an important detail to keep in mind. Even though stars are profitable, they often require significant investment to keep growing. Markets with high growth rates are competitive by nature. To stay ahead, companies need to continuously invest in marketing, innovation, production capacity, and distribution channels. Without this ongoing investment, even a star can lose its luster and fall into the question mark or dog category. Let's take a real world example to make this clearer. Tesla's electric vehicles. A few years ago, Tesla's Model S and Model 3 were considered stars. They operated in a booming electric vehicle market and commanded a dominant market share. Tesla aggressively invested in battery technology, expanded production facilities like the Gigafactory, or ramped up their global distribution. As a result, they strengthened their leadership position in the electric car segment, turning their early investment into significant competitive advantage. Another example is Apple's iPhone. Especially during its earlier years, when smartphones first emerged as a rapidly growing market, the iPhone captured massive market share through constant innovation and sleek design. Apple's aggressive marketing, Apple Store ecosystem, and hardware upgrades ensured that the iPhone remained a star for several years. Even today, while the smartphone market has matured, the iPhone continues to be a major revenue driver and has transitioned closer to cash cow. But we'll get to that in the next section. Managing stars effectively is crucial because they are the future of the company. Companies should not only continue investing in these products but also look at the ways to enhance their market dominance. This could involve expanding into new geographical markets, improving customer experience, adding complementary products or services, or investing in research and development to stay ahead of competitors. There is also an important lesson here about timing. Stars won't remain stars forever. As a market matures, growth inevitably slows. That's when a well-managed star transitions into a cash cow, generating steady returns with less investment required. The key for companies is to recognize this transition and adjust their strategy accordingly. What happens if a company neglects its stars? Unfortunately, it's not a pretty picture. Competitors can sweep in, technology can outpace the product, or customer preferences can shift. A star is not properly nurtured can quickly lose market share and fall into the less desirable quadrants of the matrix. There is also a strategic debate companies often face when it comes to stars. Should they milk the product for profits now or continue to invest aggressively for future dominance? There is no one size fits all answer. And that's what makes strategy so exciting. Some companies might see an opportunity to double down and expand further, while others might see the stars for its inevitable transition into a cash cow. Interestingly, stars are not just limited to products. There also be business units, brands, or even services with a larger organization. For example, within Amazon, Amazon Web Services has been a star for several years. It operates in the fast-growing cloud computing market and holds a leading position worldwide. AWS requires ongoing investment in data centers, security, and innovation, but it continues to fuel Amazon's growth and profitability. In conclusion, stars are exciting, high-performing assets in any portfolio. They represent leadership in booming markets and have the potential to deliver substantial returns. If managed wisely, companies should focus on maintaining their market leadership through continuous investment and innovation, while also preparing for the eventual market maturity phase. As we move through our presentation today, you'll notice a common theme, the need for balance and adaptability. No quadrant remains static, and the business landscape is always shifting. Recognize where your products or units sit within the matrix allows you to make smarter, more proactive decisions. With that, I'll now hand it over to our next speaker who will take you through the second and arguably most beloved quadrant of the BCG matrix, the cash cows. These are the mature, profitable units that provide the financial backbone of a company. Get ready to learn how businesses build their success and maintain stability.
Thank you for the excellent explanation of the star quadrant. Now let us move forward to one of the most crucial part of the BCG matrix, the cash cows. Cash cows are the products, services or business units that hold a high market share but exist in a low growth market. They are typically mature, well-established offerings that no longer require significant investment because the market has stabilized. Yet they continue to generate steady and reliable cash flow for the company. You can think of them as financial backbone of the businesses. Consistency bringing in profit that can be used to fund for ventures such as nurturing question marks or maintaining stars. The position of cash cows in the bottom left quadrant of the matrix, they represent stability and efficiency. Since the growth rate of the market is low, there's less pressure to invest aggressively in marketing and innovation. Instead, the focus shifts to maximizing profitability, optimizing operations, and using surplus cash to support other parts of the business portfolio. A perfect example of cash cow is Coca-Cola's classic soft drink line. The beverage industry, especially carbonated soft drink, is a mature market to slow growth. However, Coca-Cola maintains an enormous market share globally. Despite fierce competition and changing customer preferences, Coca-Cola's iconic status, widespread availability, and massive brand loyalty continues to generate consistent profits. Coca-Cola does not need to spend billions to build awareness anymore. Every day already knows the brand. Instead, they focus on efficient production, global distribution, and maintaining customer engagement. Another excellent example is Microsoft's Office suite. Products like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint have been around for decades. While the market for productivity software isn't growing at explosive rates, Microsoft holds a dominant position. With millions of users worldwide, Microsoft enjoys recurring revenue, especially with its subscription-based model under Microsoft 365. The cash generated from Office has been instrumental in helping Microsoft invest in newer ventures like Azure Cloud Services, which, as we had heard earlier, is considered a star. The beauty of cash flows lies in their ability to fund the future of the businesses. Since they require minimal reinvestment, companies often use their cash flow to finance research and development, enter new markets, pay dividends to shareholders, reduce debt, or support strategic inactivities in many ways. The health of a cash cow directly influences the overall health of the organization. However, it's important to note that companies must not take their cash cows for granted, even though these products are in mature markets. They still require attention to maintain efficiency and profitability. Competitors can still attempt to capture market share through pricing strategies, products improvements, or marketing. Additionally, shift in customer behavior or technological advancements can threaten the stability of a cash flow if the company becomes complacent. Let us consider Nestle's instant coffee brand, Nescafe, as another cash cow. Example, the coffee market, while mature in many regions, continues to provide Nestle with a steady income. Nescafe benefits from the high brand recognition and widespread distribution, making it a reliable profit generator. Nestle uses the profits from Nescafe to diversity its product portfolio and invest in high growth areas like health, science and plant-based food. Another interesting aspect of cash flow in the role in maintaining company resilience during tough time. During economic downturn or market volatility, cash cows acts as a financial cushion. Since they produce predictable cash flow, they help business with a strong income and continues to invest in long-term growth strategies. Managing a cash cow effectively involves poor cost control, process optimization, and maintaining customers' loyalty. Companies should ensure operational excellence, minimizing risk, and keep the product relevant through modest updates and marketing campaigns. The reinforce brand strength. Even though growth is limited, profitability can still be maximized through efficiency. There's a strategic decision regarding what to do with excess cash generated by cash cows. Some companies choose to return value to shareholders through dividends or stock buybacks. Others reinvest the fund into new ventures or acquisition to maintain long-term competitiveness. The key is to balance short-term returns with long-term strategic goals. To summarize, cash cows are invaluable to company success. They provide the funding that powers the growth in other areas, support risk testing in new ventures, and help ensure the business remains profitable and sustainable. However, companies must continue to manage them carefully to preserve their profitability and market position. As we continue our journey through the BCG matrix, it is important to remember the cash cows were often once stars themselves. Through smart management and market maturity, they have evolved into reliable profit generators. And with careful attention, they have continued to support companies for many years to come. Now let us move on to the next speaker, who will introduce one of the most integrating and something perplexing quadrants of BCG matrix, the question mark. The product or the business operate to high growth market but hold a low market share. The pose unique challenges and exciting opportunities. Over to you. Thank you for the great explanation about cash cows. Now let's move on to a quadrant that is full of uncertainty but also full of potential, the question marks. The question mark quadrant in the BCG matrix represents products or business units that operate in high growth market but currently have a low market share. These are sometimes also called problem children because they present a real dilemma for management. On one hand, they operate in the market that are expanding rapidly, which is good sign. On the other hand, they are not yet leader in their space. They require significant investment if they are to grow their market share and potentially become future stars. Question marks are positioned in the top right of the matrix. They symbolize uncertainty. Will they rise to become star or they will falter and slip down into the dogs category? That depend heavily on the decision the company makes about investing in them. Let's think about why they are called question marks. Imagine a new player in an emerging market like a startup launching an electric scooter. The market is growing quickly because of urbanization and sustainability trends. However, the company's market share is still very small because there are already dominant players. At this stage, the product's future is unclear. It's question mark. One classical example of question mark was Amazon Prime Video. In its early days, the market for streaming services was booming with fierce competition from Netflix and Hulu. Amazon Prime Video had relatively small market share initially, but Amazon invested heavily in original content and international expansion. Today's Prime Video is majorly player in the streaming market. It successfully transitioned from question mark to something closer to a star or even a cash cow, depending on how you view its performance globally. Managing question mark is challenging but exciting. These products often require heavy investment in marketing, research and development, technology and distribution. The goal is to increase market share and shift the product into the share quadrant. But here is the catch, not every question mark is worth the investment. Some might to be far behind competitor, face unsurmountable barrier to growth or be in market that are becoming
saturated too quickly. Take, for example, electric vehicle from some legacy automaker like Ford and generator motor. While Tesla lead the market, other companies are fighting hard to gain around. Ford investment in electric motor like Mustang Mach-E represent their push to move from question mark status to star status in the growing EV market. It requires significant resources, but the reward could be sustainable. Companies must carefully evaluate their question mark to decide whether to invest or divest. If the product shows promise such as growing customer interest, potential for differentiation, or access to underserved market, it might be worth allocating significant resources to help it grow. On the other hand, if the product continues to underperform despite investment, it might be better to cut losses early and redirect fund to more promising areas. Another great example of a successful question mark is Instagram. Before it was acquired by Facebook, now Meta, Instagram was operating in a high growth market for photo sharing and social media, but had a relatively small market share compared to Facebook itself or Twitter at the time. After the Facebook acquisition, huge investment in infrastructure, user engagement, features, and monetization turned Instagram into one of the company's biggest stars and eventually a major cash cow for Meta. The tricky part with the question mark is that they are resource hungry. Without sufficient support, they are likely to fail, but supporting them blindly is risky. That's why decision making here need to be data driven and strategic. Companies conduct through market research, competitive analysis, and financial forecasting to evaluate the potential of each question mark. It's also important to consider timing in fast moving industry. Waiting too long to invest in a question mark could mean missing the window of opportunity. However, jumping into too early without enough information can lead to wasted resources. Striking the right balance is critical.
Now let's talk about the cash cows, which are often considered as the backbone of many successful companies. Cash cows are the business units or products which enjoys high market share in a low growth market. Even though the market isn't expanding, cash cows dominates their own space and generates strong stable cash flows with minimal investment. Why cash cows are so important? Generally, cash cows require less investment as compared to stars. Some key characteristics of cash cows are low market growth, high market share, minimal ongoing investment, and a foundation for the company. However, companies must be aware that cash cow doesn't exist forever. With changing market trends or evolving consumers' choice, the new competitors can emerge. So, cash cows must be used very wisely by the companies in order to provide the satisfaction to the customers while be prepared for the change in market trends. Cash cows are used as a storage money by most of the companies. Since most of the companies use the extra amount of cash generated by cash cows as a, as an investment to create a new stars, to create the new star universe. This process of nurturing new stars by the extra amount of cash generated by cash cows is one of the best way in the portfolio of a management of a successful company. So while the stars steals the spotlight, the question marks captures our curiosity. It's the dependable cash cows that quietly sustain the entire organization.
We would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude towards our communication skill teacher, Dr. Kumar Tiwari sir, who encouraged us to take our first step in YouTube video creation on the topic BCG matrix.